Inside NASCAR, a weekly 30-minute look at the men and machines that make up the world's most popular motorsport. With your host, Jarrett and Steve Byrnes. Brought to you in part by Piedmont Airlines, the official airlines of NASCAR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside NASCAR. We're in Spartanburg, South Carolina this week at the Pearson Racing Shops. This is where the Chattanooga Chew cars are housed that Larry Pearson drives on the Busch Grand National Circuit. And, Steve, he's having a good year. He's leading the Busch Grand National point standings.
And we'll talk with him in just a little bit. We also wanted to tell you about the Caribbean Cruise Vacation that we're giving away. We've had a lot of entries, a lot of postcards coming in. We'll tell you how you can be eligible to win that tremendous vacation. And, Ned, as you said, we've got an awful lot to talk about in this half hour.
Emotions and tempers can heat up with the action on the short tracks. We'll examine the issue of rough driving. Some of the top drivers on the circuit talk about aggressive racing.
Sort of self-survival situation. If they beat on you, you beat on them. If they don't beat on you, you don't beat on them. So that's where the fine line comes, is how far you go before people retaliate.
We'll talk to Jack Ingram, Brett Bodine, and Larry Pearson as those three are locked in a heated battle for the Busch Grand National Championship.
The NASCAR Notebook will cover rules concerning tires. We'll also have the mailbox.
And we'll take you on a Caribbean cruise, a dream vacation that could be yours, so stay with us.
At Piedmont, every one of our jets gets a regular checkup. We take it apart, go over it inch by inch, check out hundreds of thousands of rivets, and examine every one of its over 92,000 parts inside and out. Piedmont's physical fitness program. Over 2,000 people who never get off the ground help keep us the up-and-coming airline.
Richard Petty talks about his all-time driving headaches.
Daytona 76, that was definitely a goodie. Charlotte 72, that was another goodie. Michigan 84, that was a real goodie. I've won over 200 races, but I've had over 700 headaches. So just take it from me, Goodies gets rid of the pain fast, and that's what counts.
Goodies headache powders and extra strength tablets.
Fall may be approaching, but green is still the dominant color throughout New England. And that's because it's time to kick off another exciting season of Boston Celtics basketball. Starting in October, Sports Channel will again bring you exclusive live coverage of the world champion Celtics home games. Follow Larry Bird and the rest of the Celtics as they fight to retain the title of world champions. It all comes your way on Sports Channel in October.
You know me? Sure you do. I'm the person who's going to solve your gift-giving problem. Birthday, job promotion, anniversary, holiday, whatever the occasion, I have the answer. My 1985-86 limited edition lithographs of Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Danny Ainge. They are hand-signed and numbered by me. And here's how you get your set of 4.
When it comes time to qualify, there are as many different strategies to squeeze every inch of speed out of a wild 1- or 2-lap banzai run as there are drivers themselves. But one item on which all usually agree, especially those with serious pole aspirations, is the use of new tires called stickers. 2 reasons for this. 1, they're almost always faster than used tires, or scuffs as they're called. And 2, if the car is among the 10 fastest qualifiers, NASCAR impounds the tires until race day.
They will use a sticker tire because we require them to start the race on the tires which they qualified on. Now, some years back, at certain tracks, a used tire was much better for qualifying than a new sticker tire. So that's why the rule is in there, and we want to be sure that everyone starts and are safe out there for the first 30 or 40 laps until a yellow flag or a pit stop comes.
Nothing prohibits teams from qualifying on scuffs, but come race day, scuffs often don't perform as well as the new tires other competitors will be using. Now, that might seem to be something of a disadvantage for those 10 teams who can do nothing more than look at their first set of race tires sitting by the NASCAR truck while the other 20 or 30 teams have possession of theirs. Well, as you might suspect, this really isn't a problem.
We have the Goodyear engineers to go over the tires and wheels. They're rebounced, they aired, the whole bit. If the Goodyear engineers finds a problem with a tire, then they will come to me and we will allow them to change a tire as long as it is defective.
And how many tires would they be permitted to change?
One on each side.
So when the green falls, the top 10 cars, almost without exception, will do battle on stickers. The new tires are safer and more competitive.
Ned, NASCAR announced recently that they'd be reducing the weights of the Winston Cup cars by some 200 pounds, and that will help safety as well and the wear and tear on the tires.
Well, I don't think there's any question about it because it will reduce the temperatures of the tires, and that should make them run longer and certainly be a lot safer. The Busch Grand National race at Hickory, North Carolina was postponed until November the 9th. It was rained out on Saturday night, and then by the promoter's choice on Sunday afternoon, it was postponed. But the battle continues for the Busch Grand National Championship.
The Grand National points battle remains extremely tight, and with 3 races to go, the contenders must draw upon all the experience they can muster wherever they can find it. Veteran Jack Ingram owns 5 championships and offers some advice to the less experienced Pearson and Bodine.
Neither one of them has never won one, and it's a chance in a lifetime. I would tell them to try to keep it doing the things that they've always done to get in the position that they're in. If they change anything that they've been doing, it could cost them.
For his winning edge, Larry Pearson looks to his father, 3-time Winston Cup champion David Pearson.
To be honest with you, he really doesn't talk to me about the points right now. The main thing he tells me is when I really screw up. You know, he really gets on my case about that. But he's definitely been 100% help to me. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without him.
Brett Bodine owes much to his racing heritage as well. Brother Jeff serves as his mentor.
He's been helpful throughout my whole career. I learned how to race from him. You know, we've adapted well to all the racetracks, and you know, that's a credit to the car and the fact that, you know, all the information Jeff has given me has really helped out tremendously.
As the Grand National Championship rolls to its conclusion, you can be sure cars 11, 21, and 00 will be where the action's at.
Well, Steve, even though Larry Pearson has not had a lot of experience at running for a championship, there's plenty of experience in this shop because his dad, David, ran for championships many times and won 3 NASCAR Winston Cup championships.
And, of course, Brett Bodine's older brother is Jeff, so he'll draw on some of that experience. We're going to take a short break now, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at rough driving. Some say it's a little too aggressive. Some say that's just racing. We'll look at that.
Well, it's always been going on. Stay with us.
What's the heart of your car's cooling system? It's not the radiator. Nope. It's the water pump. Because when the water pump stops, you stop. Zerex antifreeze and coolant now has Z12 super silicates. Zerex Z12 forms a protective shield against rust and corrosion. This Zerex shield is even tougher than the metal it protects. For protection that goes to the heart of your car's cooling system, you need Zerex.
Spend 7 glorious days this December cruising the beautiful Caribbean on the first annual Caribbean 500, a special cruise offer for Winston Cup race fans from Whiteland West Travel. Join drivers Neil Bonnet, Kyle Petty, Ken Schrader, Terry Labonte, and country music star T.G. Shepard for a week you'll never forget. For more information or to reserve your cabin, call toll-free 1-800-345-0070. Special rates are now available for Inside NASCAR viewers and fans, so call today.
Deneen charging in. Robertson got a late start. Deneen scores!
It seems like only yesterday that the Whalers were taking last year's Stanley Cup champion, the Montreal Canadiens, to a 7th and deciding game in the Adams Division Finals. Well, it was a little longer than that, but the excitement that was generated over the tremendous play of the Whalers has barely died down. Whaler Mania is just waiting to sweep across New England again this year. And when it does, be sure you're on top of all the action with Sports Channel's exclusive live coverage of the Hartford Whalers. All season long, Sports Channel's Rick Peckham and Jerry Cheevers will bring you the action from one of the most improved teams in the NHL, the Hartford Whalers. Sports Channel's coverage of Whalers hockey starts in October. Be on hand then so you don't miss any of our coverage of the team that's continuing to make believers out of hockey fans throughout New England. Whalers hockey coming your way exclusively on Sports Channel in October.
As long as there has been racing and will be racing, we're going to hear the controversy. How rough is too rough on the racetrack? And on the short tracks, it's inevitable. It's a way of life. You're going to get together.
Well, it really is, Steve, and it has always been that way. When David Pearson and Richard Petty and I were racing on the dirt tracks back in the early 60s, we would get together every once in a while, but sometimes it is hard to determine what is intentional and what is not intentional, and I think that's the issue.
The length of race we run, as close as we run all day long on a short track, it's tough to come out at short track and not be upset at something or somebody.
The biggest thing is everybody's trying to get the #1 spot, and it's crowded up there, and when it's crowded, you're going to have a little bumping and shoving.
You know, of course, when you run short tracks particularly, you're going to have some bumping and banging and leaning, and it's just not enough room on the racetrack to keep from doing that.
Make no mistake about it, short track racing is a contact sport. Every contest on a half-mile speedway is a collision of competitive wills. NASCAR's elite didn't get to the top of the heap by being courteous behind the wheel. On every lap, all around the narrow ribbon of asphalt, these warriors engage in door-to-door combat. Remarkably, many times they'll never touch, a tribute to their talent. Sometimes, though, one bump, whether intended or not, can lead to calamity. Contact on short tracks is accepted by drivers, even some jolts which might seem to border on assault. In truth, much of the bashing and bumping fall within the boundaries of the driver's unwritten code of conduct.
You run down in the corner and the guy's protecting his line, and by virtue of doing that, he's taking away where you want to be, so sometimes you bump into him. And he knows that it's not intentional, it's accidental. Most of the time, if it's an intentional thing and you want to get his attention, you'll do that on the straightaway. As you come up off the corner and you get on the straightaway, you might bump him a little bit and say, hey, you're holding me up, babe, I need to get by.
Well, you can give them a good wrap in the back end and then drop back a little bit and then move back up on them. And I don't mean to sound hard or anything, but that's about enough warning when you back off and let them see you catch them right back, and it shows that your car's working better. And then whether they let you or not, you got to go ahead.
Each chauffeur who straps into a $60,000 Bullet has his own style of cocking the hammer and launching himself into the maelstrom of squealing tires and thundering engines. But from the most fiercely competitive front runner to the back marker tiptoeing around the track, each driver will only take so much abuse before he starts responding in kind.
You know, your adrenaline's up and you're getting a little hot about things anyhow, and you start getting chunked around on the racetrack. You know, you give them the benefit of the doubt for a couple of times, but after they whack you 4 or 5 times, then you feel like maybe they need one back.
You might say you're sorry, but the reason you hit him, that you know, you had a purpose in doing it. So you know, it's just everybody's different. Everybody's got different personalities. Everybody drives different, and everybody's got his own limit to ever how far he thinks he can go.
But when does the permissible pounding and paybacks trespass into the dark region of over-aggressive driving?
It's just who's calling and which race fans looking at it, how they look at it. That deal up there at Richmond was a big deal. It got out of hand. You know, Darrell was knocking hell out of me before that happened. He was knocking hell out of Bowdoin up there Sunday before he got around him.
It's all in the intent. You know, I can tell if a guy intentionally runs into me. I can tell if a guy intentionally cuts me off. You know, I mean, you're looking in the car right at him, and you can see his eyes in the mirror. So if he's looking in the mirror and turns into you, he meant to. But if he comes off the corner and he gets a little loose and he gets into you, that's racing.
Where is that fine line between good, hard, close quarter action and then having stepped across that line into something that's considered detrimental to the sport or competition?
Well, it's a very fine line. Normally, if a guy bumps another guy, we overlook that. But if he tries to spin him, or he does spin him, then of course we'll take whatever action we deem is necessary. The incident earlier in the year, it looked from the tower that was a definite spin. The incident a few weeks ago, that was definitely a spin. We go back and we look at the film of the action before we take any action on the incident.
Both Kyle Petty and Earnhardt were fined and put on probation for their role in wrecks in 1986. There have been no further incidents. Fines and probations are reserved for what NASCAR judges the most flagrant transgressions. But as a rule, the sport prefers quiet self-policing when someone's driving stretches the limits of acceptability.
Well, it's a ball and strike situation, but if we see a guy that's driving a little rough, we'll go talk with him and tell him, you know, hey, you're on the borderline. Maybe a strike next time rather than a ball.
If I feel like he's got rough intentionally, and, you know, I'll have something to say to him after the race or after the whole deal's over, but I'll say it to him. I won't say it to the press or anybody else.
But in many instances, drivers use the racetrack to hammer home their displeasure with another's tactics. The trick is to make the payback subtle enough so the offender gets the message while avoiding drawing any sanctions from NASCAR. If you're a driver, oftentimes the golden rule is still do to others what they've done to you.
The deal is that, you know, you have to sort of self-survival situation. If they beat on you, you beat on them. If they don't beat on you, you don't beat on them.
If a guy continually bumping you behind and you don't feel like you're holding him up or in his way, you can give him a brake job. The guy in front puts the brakes on, the guy behind runs into him. It smashes his grill, maybe his radiator. That lets him know right away that you weren't happy with his tactics.
There's all kind of ways to pay a guy back. You can do it on a restart. He might be a lap down, you might be a lap down and you won't let him in front of you. Or he might catch you somewhere on the racetrack sometime and need to get by you and you won't let him. There's all kinds of ways to pay people back without just wrecking them.
And if the payback isn't delivered that race, there's always another one next week. These competitors possess excellent memories.
Race drivers in general forgive a lot, but don't forget very much.
Ned, one place you don't see a whole lot of bumping and grinding is on the super speedways, because when you rub at 200 miles an hour, you know it.
You certainly do, but there was an exception to that rule at Talladega this year in the Talladega 500. There was more bumping and grinding going on there than I've ever seen on a super speedway before, and of course there was a lot of criticism from that as well. When we come back, we'll have the mailbox.
And we're going to take you on a Caribbean cruise, a vacation that could be yours, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
For all those performance cars that want to keep performing even in wet, sloppy weather, Goodyear introduces the Eagle GT Plus 4. High performance and all-weather performance in one remarkable tire. The Eagle GT Plus 4. The performance won't be canceled by the weather. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them.
A clogged fuel injector can make your car slow, sluggish, unresponsive. But only 2 tankfuls of advanced formula Mobile Super Unleaded can actually start to unclog fuel injectors. To give your car a new injection of power. Mobile Super Unleaded, high octane, with a plus.
They're off. To the lead, the outside. That's my son, Paul, coming up on the inside. Chesterton's Quest with Oscar Winner. Now Oscar Winner, Chesterton's Chest, my copy, Wig Gala. My son, Paul, on the outside. Then it's Solo Heritage, followed by Reason to Hope and Pat Spratt. At the half-mile pole, a battle. Oscar Winner ahead, Chesterton's Quest. Wig Gala right there. 4 wide on the outside, my son, Paul. Here they come. Who do you like? 4 of them battling now, 3/16 to go. Out on the rail, it's Chesterton's Quest. Oscar Winner's there. Wig Gaylor, and on the outside, my son Paul with my copy. 16th to go, the battle's still on. On the outside, my son Paul. Down in between, it's Oscar Winner and Wig Gaylor. And now down on the rail, it's Chesterton's Quest, and on the outside, my copy.
We'll give you the address for the Caribbean 500 in just a few minutes and tell you how you can be eligible. And we've got to catch up on some mail now, Ned.
Yes, we do. And our first letter in the mailbox today comes from Tim Underwood of Hickory, North Carolina, who writes, I'd like to know why most races are run counterclockwise around the track. Can you please answer that? Yes, we can, because Chip Williams is the PR director of NASCAR, and he knows all about it.
Tim, most races are run counterclockwise to keep the driver away from the obvious trouble spots in case of a crash. Obviously, if he's going in counterclockwise direction with the driver on the left side of the car, if there is a crash, he does lose the car a little bit and hit the wall, he's going to be away from the passenger side, or what would be the passenger side is going to hit the wall. Now, not all races are run counterclockwise. Road races are run in a clockwise direction. That's a holdover from the old European days where road racing began. That was to keep, because the driver's on the other side of the car in European-style automobiles, because they drive, of course, on the left side of the road instead of the right side of the road. So the road racing aspect is a holdover from the European days. The oval fact that you run counterclockwise is simply common sense.
Well, Steve, after running all of those counterclockwise laps on the racetrack, I find myself, if I go out to mow the lawn, I'm still going counterclockwise.
Now, who's your crew chief on that one?
Well, I'm afraid I'll have to do the whole thing myself.
Our second question, Ned, comes from Willis Bennett of Fair Oaks, California. Willis writes, I seem to recall that Harry Gant, Hewlett-Packard, and Buick were involved in extensive computer monitoring of race car functions during some of the NASCAR races last season. What has happened to that program? Well, Willis, for that answer, we'll go right to the boss himself, Hal Needham, who owns the Skull Bandit.
Willis, we had that program all put together, and NASCAR was unhappy with it. In fact, they said they thought it would put too much of a cost factor on racing. The second thing is that they didn't quite understand what it was all about, so they made me take it out. Now, I talked to Bill France Jr. the other day, about a week ago, and I said, okay, if I can't run it in a car, then at least let's put it in a car, and I'll let them pick the car they want to put it in. Let's put it in a car so that we can at least televise it to the audience out there, the television audience, and let them see the RPMs of the engine, the heats, the airs, and the speeds, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm waiting on right now, as an answer to see if I can do that.
Friends, if your question is used on an upcoming segment of Inside NASCAR, you'll receive this beautiful Timex stopwatch. Timex is the official timekeeper of NASCAR, and this watch is just like the ones the NASCAR teams use. In addition, we'll send you this new 1986 NASCAR yearbook and press guide. 288 colorful pages full of exciting information about NASCAR racing. Write to us today at Inside NASCAR, Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28224. And thanks again to everyone who writes.
Now, I know how you put things off sometimes, we all do, but if you've been a little bit lazy and haven't sent your entry in for the Caribbean Cruise, you ought to do so right away. And remember that everyone has an equal chance.
And just think, you could win a week in the Caribbean. Now, just to motivate you a little bit and get you going to pick up that pen and a postcard, here's what you can expect if you win the Caribbean 500. Blue skies, crystal clear waters. Some of the most relaxing surroundings on Earth are here in the Caribbean. Cruising these fabled islands takes you to places that seem tailor-made for your enjoyment only. A world of snow-white beaches and breathtaking scenery. Time seems to stand still here in the Caribbean. Lounging on these beautiful beaches has a way of numbing the senses to the worries back home. Your biggest dilemma will be deciding what to buy in the village shops of St. Thomas. St. Thomas offers an incredible array of spending choices. Duty-free shops carry some of the most affordable jewelry found anywhere. If excitement is what you crave, enjoy an afternoon cruise on the Jolly Roger excursion ship, a floating festival that is definitely one of the high points of the trip. cruise to a secluded cove for snorkeling, swimming, or just relaxing with some rather potent island rum punch. After a day of sun and fun, look forward to a spectacular dinner in the ship's dining room. There's entertainment on board 7 nights a week. You can dance till dawn in the discotheque or catch a top-notch floor show. Other activities on board include skeet shooting, aerobics, or just a long day by the pool doing absolutely nothing. This island excursion aboard the Cunard Countess is a fantasy come true. Send in your postcard today. It can all be yours. Ned, the photography was beautiful on that piece, but you know, it really doesn't do the Caribbean justice. It's unlike any place I have ever been to.
Sure looks like a lot of fun.
It is. Now, all you have to do to be eligible to win, you have to be 18 years of age or older. On a postcard, send us a story idea that you'd like to see here on the show. That's all there is to it.
Now, we know that everyone can't win, but if you'd like to make the trip, there are special rates for NASCAR fans, so send your entries in.
And just because you're viewers of Inside NASCAR. Now, the address is Caribbean 500, Post Office Box 240-417, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28224, and you may enter as many times as you'd like. And then we have a great second and third prize as consolations, a pair of tickets to any Piedmont Airlines destination, and we'll make the drawing on the weekend of November 8th, so make sure you're watching.
That's all the time we have for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be with us here next week when we'll have all the racing action from the North Carolina Motor Speedway at Rockingham, North Carolina, the Sand Hills 200 Busch Grand National Race, and the Nationwide Auto Parts 500 NASCAR Winston Cup Race.
And Mark Allen has a story about some NASCAR drivers who had the tables turned on them recently. They all participated in a race, but nobody won. We'll explain.
And we'll have the mailbox, the news, and more, so you be with us right here.
The following companies have paid a promotional fee to Inside NASCAR. The Pit Golf Links, one of the nation's most unique championship golf courses. Survive the challenge of the pit if you can. The newest addition to the Pinehurst tradition, the Pit, Pinehurst, North Carolina. Inside NASCAR's mobile hospitality suite, this luxurious 35-foot 1987 Pace Aero motorhome, provided by Fleetwood Enterprises of Riverside, California. Ground transportation for Inside NASCAR is provided by Choo Choo Custom Vans, Chattanooga, Tennessee, specializing in Chevrolet, vans, pickups, Blazers, and Astros.